Boley, today Policy and Resources has told the states that more than £40 million of taxpayers' money has been spent on two IT change projects with little or nothing to show for them. When and how did you discover the extent of the problem with these projects?
Well, obviously, I've been in the role now for 11 months, and over that period of time, I've been doing two things really. One, spending quite a bit of time with our frontline staff, and a lot of the impact on this falls on them. And so, I was getting a very consistent message there. And then, slowly but surely, been working my way through some of the legacy issues that are paralysing the organisation. And the two that you've mentioned, particularly the MyGov project, stands out to me as being the worst example of waste in the public service.
And today's statement by Policy and Resources has talked about the importance of accountability. What is that going to mean for you? I mean, do you expect that there will be resignations among some senior officials? And if not resignations, what does accountability look like in this context?
Well, it was just 2 weeks ago, in a very structured way, I sat down with the Policy and Resources Committee and went through my assessment of the organisation, which covered a whole range of subjects, but specifically failure of transformation projects was probably top of the list. And what we agreed to do, and I was very pleased that Policy and Resources led from the front on this, was that we would conduct this next bit of work in a very transparent and open way. We could have done this behind the scenes and drawn conclusions before we made any sort of announcement. So I'm not gonna second guess or prejudge what the outcome of this work will mean. But by announcing it today, what I can guarantee is that it will happen and there will be outcomes. And as we've seen or heard from within the Assembly today, that's a position that's being very much led politically as well.
Now, as I understand it, the Revenue Service project, which involves £24 million of spending, there is at least some equipment to show for it, if I can put it that way. It's not working in the way that was intended. But the MyGov project, and P&R has talked about £18 million being spent on that, the picture has been painted that there is almost nothing to show for it at all. Now, if that's the case, even though you're very early in your investigations into this, are you able to rule out any wrongdoing or misconduct or even malfeasance rather than just negligence or carelessness or poor decision making?
Well, I've seen no evidence to support that. I have to be honest, but at this stage, it would be foolish to rule anything out. The project that you've raised, it is that stark. We've spent £18 million on that project, and there is literally, from my perspective, nothing to show from it. Worst of all, I think, having sort of taken the organisation through that change from about 2019 to 2023, there are a lot of people that are subjected to reorganisation and potential redundancy to be replaced by systems and processes that have never existed. And we have to get to the bottom of exactly where the money has gone. There will be very simple questions that the community will ask. It's the same questions that the Assembly will ask and Policy and Resources are asking, and I'm asking. And essentially, it's where has that money gone?
So checks will have been signed, if I can put it that way. And yet there would appear to be nothing to show for the money that's been spent. So, I mean, that your questions that you ask are going to be as stark as that about that particular project, are they?
Yeah, and I'm under very clear direction from Policy and Resources to forensically examine exactly what has gone wrong and why we are in the position that we are in, because it obviously has broader implications moving forward as well. And that's the most disappointing issue here, is that there are so many legacy issues that are paralysing this organisation. We need to be talking about the future and moving forward. But unless we learn the lessons from the past, I'm afraid that's not going to happen.
The focus today has been on two what are essentially major IT change projects. But how concerned are you that there has been contagion into other projects? I mean, there are capital projects that clearly have faced some challenges. There is a clinical block at the hospital, which was meant to have been opened months ago and is not yet open. Are you concerned that the kind of project management problems that you've uncovered with these two projects actually go much further across the organisation, and there may have to be further announcements about projects where not dissimilar sums of money have been squandered.
Well, the community can see for themselves the projects that have not gone well. We talk about benefits and outcomes at the start of these projects, and more often than not, they're not delivered. Now, that's not to say there's not some excellent work going on in the public service. And I have to say again, a lot of this is well, it doesn't sit with the people on the front line of the public service. They do a brilliant job. They offer excellent services, very committed to the island, and it is unfair on them. In a lot of cases, they're doing so with one arm tied behind their back because these transformation projects have failed. So do I think more broadly the outcomes of these projects are not where they need to be? Absolutely, that's the case. But I think for very different reasons. It's not necessarily the type of issues that we're particularly talking about with MyGov.
What is the current status of project management in the States? I mean, these are perhaps the Revenue Services project is more current. MyGov is slightly historic. Do you think that project management now, as we sit here today in the States, is in a better place than it has been that led to the problems that have been revealed today? Or are you concerned that effectively you are still suffering from the same problems today?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. So earlier this year, we ended the contract with Agilicis. And since then, under the leadership of our Chief Digital and Information Officer, I've seen real progress. Our IT infrastructure is improving significantly, but it still has a long way to go to undo the damage that's been caused over many years. Alongside that, I'm pleased we've got Deputy Mark Lene involved, who Policy and Resources have appointed to chair an IT advisory panel. And that's very much about getting the very best local expertise to help us oversee what are very complex programs. And in that case, I think we're forming a solid team that will give a much stronger oversight on some of these projects going forward.
And finally, PNR has told the States today that you will have a hand-picked team, a troubleshooting team, to at least take on the first stage of recovering from these problems. Can you tell us who is going to be on that team, or when you will know who will be on that team?
Well, I can tell you that will be the case, but I can't tell you. No appointments have been made yet, and I'll certainly talk to the organisation on that first of all, but that's something I'll be working on straight away.
Okay, thanks for your time, Boley.
Thank you.